Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. Senior public servants in the government service of St. Vincent and the Grenadines have been urged to give their younger colleagues a hearing and an opportunity to bring new perspectives to the table. Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves made this suggestion during his address at a rally yesterday at Heritage Square, which kicked off activities for Public Service Week 2024. The event was hosted by the Public Sector Reform Unit in the Ministry of the Public Service, Consumer Affairs and Sports under the theme Fostering Innovation Amid Global Challenges, a Public Sector Perspective.
I will tell you, my cabinet on a weekly basis is like an advanced university seminar with a bundle of fresh ideas coming and people have to study. But government is not a continuing university seminar, because if it's a continuing university seminar, you will talk the subject until thy kingdom cometh, until the cows come home. Decisions have to be made. And often the decisions have to be made with information which is not perfect, but which is the best which is available at the particular point in time. And persons who bring other perspectives to the table are always helpful. And people who want to see solutions rather than to be in love with problems. You know, what I don't want to see with the public service getting involved with is being in love with the problems and being a source of griping and complaints. You do that, you're not going to get a lot done. And we have to avoid that. There's enough of that on Facebook and other forms of platforms. We need to ensure that we address the practical problems which are facing us.
The Prime Minister also told the gathering that the public service must avoid being what he described as an army in occupation.
Just don't sit on your hands and do nothing. There are some who do that, unfortunately. And those who do very little work, very often, are those who complain the most. I don't live on Mars, you know. I know what's happening. I have a sense of what is taking place. And it's the requirement of the leaders in the public service to ensure that we can motivate people and to draw out of people what is good in them, what is of quality in them. I know that sometimes promotions may appear to be unfair, and where this has taken place, you should indicate it to your permanent secretary. I want to tell you this, from my standpoint. I have absolutely nothing to do with anybody who gets promoted from junior clerk to senior clerk to executive officer, senior executive officer, assistant secretary, senior assistant secretary. I don't get involved in those things. What the Constitution reposes in me is in relation to permanent secretaries and heads of department. And I can't tell the Public Service Commission who to hire as a permanent secretary. But I can tell them who not to hire as a permanent secretary. So if there are 5 people and you suggest A and B, and I say no, you can't send those names forward. And I may exhaust you until you reach number 5, which is the one I want. But blame me if the permanent secretary who is appointed is not doing his or her job properly. And you can say, well, Ralph, you gave the advice to John Brown to be permanent secretary and not Mary Jones. But if you ask me, I can give you the reasons why I prefer John Brown to Mary Jones.
Prime Minister Gonsalves also urged public servants to be more accommodating and patient when dealing with members of the public.
I know sometimes it's frustrated for you. Sometimes some members of the public come to you and are not respectful and they start to curse you and they and you immediately get very angry with them. I urge on you a patience and a calm. And very often, most of the times, you can disarm individuals with being helpful and to explain properly to them. What I'm talking to you about are simple verities. And I didn't want today to take up my time to explain something highfalutin, but to address in the way in which a man who has been leading the government for the last 23 years, on the basis of my knowledge and my experience, I can highlight some critical issues. Not all of them, because if I do all of them, you will not get away here today. And I know I have spoken long enough to command your attention. If I go on longer, I would lose you. I know that.
In relation to those who left the public service due to the government's COVID-19 vaccine mandate, the Prime Minister appealed to these individuals to reapply for their jobs.
Almost 100% of the public servants, almost 100% of the police complied with the requirement. The teachers, a little less than that number, but still overwhelmingly, 90% of the teachers complied. Look, we had a decision to make to target areas of the public service where people got in close contact with other people at a time when a lot of people were dying, and to make sure that we could contain the spread of COVID while at the same time providing vital services for the continuation of the government and for activities in the country. That particular decision is up before the Court of Appeal. But it's quite a while now I have been saying to everybody, as a teacher, as a police, as a civil servant, nothing has stopped you from coming back for your job. And I have said that for over 2 years now. It's happening over and over again. In fact, 3 years now. Many persons have availed themselves of that opportunity. Some persons have not. I'm saying to you all the time, it's never too late, because I have an open heart full with lots of love, and I don't want to see anybody disadvantaged in any particular manner.
Minister of Culture Carlos James is calling on companies to honor their corporate social responsibility, especially during this time when St. Vincent and the Grenadines is hosting one of its biggest festivals, Vincy Mass. This call came amidst concerns about the lack of support for Rural Carnival, which were raised today at a press conference providing an update on Rural Carnival. Minister James said some companies are withholding what should rightfully go back to the people of SVG.
The fact is, there are companies who are holding resources, their corporate social responsibility, who are holding organizations surrounding festivals, not just in culture, but also sporting organizations, holding a lot of our organizations, community-centered organizations, ransom. And we have to acknowledge and recognize that. And what they're doing is retarding the development of our cultural festivals, they're retarding the development of sports, and we have that corporate social responsibility to honor our commitment.
The minister emphasized that financial support is particularly lacking for Rural Carnival. He singled out beverage companies that benefit from major events such as Vincy Mass.
And we're starting with some of the companies who benefit significantly from the festival. For instance, the beverage companies in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They will tell you how many thousands or 100,000s they're putting into Carnival, but how much of that funding is going to a Rural Carnival committee or the Carnival Development Corporation? These are the bodies that are responsible, that has the legal mandate to host Carnival activities. But yet, you would appreciate the revenue for beverage companies around Carnival. there's generally a spike, and I wouldn't call any names. But we have to ensure that there's a better working relationship. And some of these companies put a lot more support behind the festival. It's important that we do that.
Regarding Rural Carnival, there are more than 40 activities planned, which have already started in North Leeward and North Windward. The minister stated that more than EC $25,000 is needed to host a successful Rural Carnival.
I want to commend all of the rural carnival associations and organizations. Despite the challenge of funding, they have been able to put on activities, and some of them I know are going to end their festivals in the red. Because to host, it takes no less than about $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 to pull off a rural carnival, a proper decent rural carnival. And the reality is, many of these rural organizations do not have that funding.
There are 8 rural carnival committees that are functional and have already organized some of their carnival events. The North Leeward Sports and Cultural Organization, NLSCO, today received $12,000 from Parliamentary Representative Carlos James, who is also the Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports. President of the NLSCO, Elron Lewis, stated that it has been a challenge to secure sponsorship to successfully host the Rural Carnival, and that they reached out to Minister James, who responded favorably. The organization is thankful for the assistance.
One of the things that we have been struggling with in North Leeward, where Carnival is concerned, is to secure sponsorship. And we have Mr. James here who, not just for culture, but also for sports, whenever we need assistance, he's the post we basically run to. So we are here this morning because of my visit to him to ask for assistance where payment for individuals who would have DJ or use the sound system at our activities. And when I tell him the cost, he said, he's going to look into his own personal budget and see how he could assist us. And when he called me into his office yesterday and we had the conversation, and he asked, how much is our budget and how much we would like to be assisted with. And when I told him the amount, and he told me this morning that, basically he would be granting us that amount, we are very grateful. And from North Leeward, everybody in North Leeward, we're very grateful for the assistance from Mr. James this morning. I could tell you it would go a long way in paying a lot of bills that we have pending, because as I stated before, sponsorship funding is one of our main issues in North Leeward.
The Rural Carnival in North Leeward was launched on May 22, 2024. According to the president of the organizing committee, several activities have since been held successfully, while one is yet to take place.
We had the Soca Monarch, we also had the Junior Carnival, which we had to basically postpone, and it's still in plan to execute that before the National Carnival or just after. We also have an activity pending still, which is all-inclusive. We had a very successful Soca Monarch, which we would have partnered with SVG-TV event. That was a very, we had a huge turnout.
Minister James noted that he was able to pull financial support from friends in his constituency. With the call made for companies to get on board to sponsor rural carnivals, Minister James said the government also needs to do more to fund carnival activities.
And the least we can do is to give the support where it's needed and necessary to ensure we can have a festival which all of us can be proud of. And this responsibility is also partly on the government. I'm also saying that even my government, we have put a lot in, our resources in, but we need to obviously improve on the funding for CDC and the funding for rural carnivals. I know the National Lotteries Authority has been doing that, and I want to recognize the contribution of many of the private sector organizations, as well as the government agencies, statutory bodies, who have been supporting Carnival and supporting the Carnival Development Corporation.
A security guard at the school for children with special needs, Kingston, was found dead this morning on the compound with what appeared to be a slashed throat. The deceased man has been identified as 46-year-old Gary Glasgow of Rose Place. Police cordoned off the area to process the scene as students and teachers waited behind the caution tape. The body was removed from the scene just after 10 a.m. SVG-TV News spoke to a relative who said that he enjoyed a good game of cricket last night with Glasgow, who left after midnight for work.
Well, all we up together, you know, what up, that nickname, what up is a nickname. We up together, kick football together, lime together, drink together, you know. Last night, now we were watching cricket, West Indies. So after the match done, he said he can work, you know what I'm saying? So, like last time I see him was last night. And this morning I wake up with my girlfriend. So I now get a phone call and, you know, that's why I come around here by conference school for Save Daddy Right Boss and them talking about. It's a 12 o'clock, right? You know, so the game finished. So you see he's now leaving for go work, because he's watchman work, you know. Yeah, so. The last time I see him and the last time I hear his voice. Well, working there for a while, I can't tell you how long, like it was 6, 7, 8 months, you know, a little while, you know. Yeah, he was a alright guy, man, you know what I'm saying? It's sad though, you know.
The Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force says it has launched an investigation into the homicide. The RSVGPF says it is dedicated to uncovering the details surrounding the tragic incident and bringing those responsible to justice. The police are appealing to the public for assistance and encouraging anyone with relevant information to come forward. Glasgow's killing brings the total number of homicides in the country for the year thus far to 20. The police have arrested and charged Dennis David, a 60-year-old sailor of Grenada, with possession of controlled drugs, drug trafficking, and importation of controlled drugs, following a joint operation between police and customs personnel. The accused allegedly had in his possession a controlled drug, namely 1,073 grams of cannabis, with intent to supply to another. He was further charged with having 1,073 grams of cannabis for the purpose of drug trafficking. Additionally, the accused was also charged with importing a controlled drug, namely 1,073 grams of cannabis. The offenses occurred on June 16, 2024 at the Kingston port. David appeared before the Serious Offences Court on Monday, June 17, 2024. He pleaded guilty to all charges. He was fined $500 EC for the offense of controlled drug, to be paid forthwith or face 3 months imprisonment. For the charge of drug trafficking, he was fined 1,000 EC forthwith or face 3 months imprisonment. And for the charge of drug importation, he was fined 1,000 EC to be paid forthwith or face 3 months imprisonment. Meanwhile, the police arrested and charged Gerald Simmons, a 37-year-old chauffeur of South Rivers, with the offense of wounding and damage to property. The accused allegedly unlawfully and maliciously wounded a 37-year-old chauffeur of Sandy Bay by chopping him on his left arm with a cutlass. He was also charged with damaging the left side panel and passenger door rubber of motor vehicle H7403, valued at $1,500 EC, by chopping same with a cutlass, the property of a 49-year-old carpenter of Owea. The offense occurred in 2023 in South Union. Simmons appeared before the Calico Magistrate Court on June 17, 2024, where he pleaded not guilty. He was granted bail in the sum of $2,500 EC with one surety, and the matter was adjourned to June 21st, 2024. A training workshop on production and management of disease-free sweet potato planting material, which is part of the Regional Sweet Potato Value Chain Enhancement and Technology Transfer Project, was held at the Orange Hill Agriculture Biotechnology Center training room on Monday, June 17, 2024. The opening ceremony was attended by several notable representatives, including CADI representative of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Donovan Jackson, CADI representative of Grenada and project coordinator Reginald Andel, the project lead of Component 2, Dr. Oral Daly of the Department of Food Production, Faculty of Food and Agriculture, the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus. A total of 21 participants from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Antigua, Barbados, Guyana, Belize, Cayman Islands, and Grenada are participating in the training. This initiative is a collaborative effort between the Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, CARDI, and the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus, with funding provided by the Caribbean Development Bank. SVG-CARDI representative Donovan Jackson said the purpose of the 3-day training workshop is to equip participants with the requisite skills and knowledge to produce and manage disease-free sweet potato planting material.
This sweet potato training workshop is part of the overall project entitled the Regional Sweet Potato Value Chain Enhancement and Technology Transfer Project, tasked with the identification of market preferred cultivars to enhance better marketing, production, and to enhance productivity and post-harvest aspect as well. So I hope that the training over these 3 days will assist and equip us, those who would be participating in training activity, to better able to provide the training to their stakeholders in their respective countries and so enhance the sweet potato production in the region. Sweet potato is important not only from the standpoint of food and nutrition, but it's also a climate resilient crop as well, and for export earning and is a livelihood for many persons in the rural communities throughout the Caribbean.
Grenada's CARDI representative and project coordinator Reginald Andel thanked the sponsors of the project, which he said has 3 components.
It's already been implemented and even implemented in St. Vincent, where we were looking at the value chain analysis of the sweet potato industry and also the development of business cases. That component 1 is completed. However, the report which we have to summarize and circulate to member countries has not been done yet. It's a 400-page report. So we have to concise it down because everybody won't be reading or won't want to read such a long report. So we have to concise that down and make the results available to the various countries. And part of that value chain analysis and development of business cases is focusing on businesses that can have investment in the sweet potato industry, so we can fuel the industry more from, not just from the production side, which we have been dealing with over the years, but also in the processing and value added side. Component 2, under which we are functioning today, is looking at market preferred varieties and improvement of planting material, making better planting material as we will, or disease-free planting material available to farmers. And hence we are conducting this workshop today to increase our skills in implementing this.
Andel said a feature of the project is that they have a number of consultants partnering with CARDI with the implementation of Component 2, including the University of the West Indies. He said Component 3 of the project will look at transfer systems involving technology transfer. Minister of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Rural Transformation, Industry and Labour, Sabota Caesar, who delivered the feature address at Monday's opening ceremony, said the Caribbean, particularly St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is experiencing a renaissance in agriculture, or a total rebirth of agriculture, and stakeholders have to get on board with the changes.
And it's happening and unfolding before our very eyes, but sometimes we don't spend the time to pull all of the information together so that we can explain to the stakeholders exactly what is happening. If you're from Jamaica, you will still remember in the 80s and the early 90s when large-scale sugar production, large-scale banana production, that they were the order of the day. If you're from Trinidad and Tobago, you can still remember the Caroni Sugar Estate and the value chains which were developed around these. And if you're from the Windward Islands, it will be definitely hard for you to forget the banana industry and the impact that it created on rural economic development. Over the last 2 years in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have done significant work in developing value chains. And for the farmers who will view today's production, we are coming out of a period where we had to substitute banana production with the production of other crops. And I want to take this opportunity to thank CARDI for the role that it is playing in the Caribbean, the role that it is playing in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I really want to highlight the work that Mr. Donowa Jackson is playing and the work that he has done over.
The training spans will conclude with a closing ceremony tomorrow, Wednesday, June 19th, 2024.